report from somebody. I'm the
From
king
somebody.
of I'm the king of seeing reports without giving any names as to who actually made the report. But it was somewhere on Twitter that stated that the Titans and the 49ers are going to be major players in the free agent market. Obviously, the 49ers have a lot of free agents of their own that are on the market. So that seems kind of maybe counterintuitive, because even if they re-sign their own players, they are re-signing them from free agency. So that makes them a big player in free agency. But let's go with maybe just to find out your take. Do you believe that, obviously we know the 49ers have to sign a bunch of free agents because a bunch of free agents they have that are not under contract. Do you feel that they're going to re-sign more of their current players, or do you see them making a splash and maybe bringing in some big names that are on the free agent market from other teams?
I don't think it's possible they're going to be able to bring in a splash. Maybe one splash, but I think it's going to be bulk. I'll try to re-sign some guys. I remember last season, like some free agencies, like when we all would do like all 49ers roundtable, we would say who's coming back, who's not, who's coming back. And like I think like most of us said like half the people aren't coming back, but it turned out most of them came back.
Right.
I don't expect anywhere close to that same, because last year was COVID off season where people were struggling to get deals that they liked. So they just said, we're just going to go back, build more value, let the cap go up. So I expect more. I don't expect them to have as much success resigning their own guys as they will this season. Even with Jimmy off the contract, off the books, it still isn't enough to consider to be major players. And if you want to be a major player, what are you going to do? You're going to commit yourself to just one or two, like almost like some very solid high level players where you still have a whole roster to fill out, especially in a year where you don't have too many draft picks, or at least like weighted draft picks, because you only have your second and third round pick. Mm-hmm. I don't care how good you are in the fifth round. You still want those higher ones to get like the talents you're more sure of scouted out. So I how I envision free agency going, they're going to re-sign several free agents of their own, and then probably try to look at free agency and look for like 1 to 3 outside talents, noticeable talents, not just filler depths like an Arden Key or Maurice Hurst. I would be like maybe someone like, oh, that's a noticeable name. Wow, that's a great get. Like kind of like almost when they did going into 2019 when they signed Quan Alexander. Not that high of like, of stature in terms of contracts. But I do think they'll be like maybe like I would say somewhat players, but no scenario do I envision them being a major player. That hasn't really been like their whole spiel too much.
Right. Sean Kaleohi from Hawaii. What are your thoughts on keeping Lakin? I think if we stay under 8 million range and possibly sign Brunskill, we could solidify the left side with Max future. Brunskill could play center in a bit. I think Lakin is the top free agent that they have to bring back. To me, I look at it, Jose, I've been mentioning this on a lot of my streams. The 49ers, when it comes to drafting offensive line, seem to make the wrong pick consistently. Mm-hmm. At least Aaron Banks. Regime. Yeah, Aaron Banks. But even if you notice, like, they picked Aaron Banks over Creed Humphreys. So they looked at, even though they were going offensive line, they picked the offensive lineman who at least couldn't come in, in their rookie season and make an impact, even though they had one that they could have picked in Creed Humphreys that fit a need that did come in and make an impact in their rookie season. You look at, the previous year, they picked Kinlaw when Trenton Wirfs was there, who was a rookie that came in, made an impact. So it's not necessarily that they're opposed to taking a offensive lineman early. I just don't have confidence that they're gonna pick the right option that's there based off of the talent that's there. If you look at what the strengths are on the offensive line, the top 3 players, obviously Trent Williams, Laken Tomlinson, Alex Mack, none of those were drafted by the 49ers. So for me, I think it's extremely important that they bring back a Laken Tomlinson. He's always healthy. He's obviously somebody that we know could work well with Trent Williams and is a very good player. I just don't trust that they'll be able to replace him through the draft, just because I don't have confidence that whomever scouts the offensive line for the 49ers is the best scout that they have.
Yeah, and plus they're going to have to – if they're really going to they're really going to allocate draft resources and stock and scouting, it should really be center and right guard, because if Aaron Banks, I mean, he's going to get a chance this year to start there. And if he's good enough, he should start there. I mean, you spent a second round pick on him. He better be ready to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, matter of fact, they wanted him to be ready last year, 1,000%.
Right.
You don't draft that high for a guard and not expect him to take a redshirt year. That's idiotic. You know, so that they kind of whiff big on that. So you're on the money about them messing up. And I think I highlight that one because of how much a second round pick does carry more weight than any of a later pick. But Lakin, yeah, especially you want to keep him there because he's still kind of a little bit of an ascending talent, and the way he is right now, run blocking is really good. His pass pro is decent. And especially you want, when you have Trey Lance coming on, you ideally want some semblance of the offensive line still intact and continuity to be there, so you don't put more hiccups than needed to be. Mike McGlinchey's coming back. I expect him to get, extended. But how good is he going to be coming back off that torn quad? We already know he's been a little bit of a skittish pass pro guy. Early on this year, he was better, definitely better. He's not wasn't much of a liability like he was in 2020. But still, even then, you have him coming back from injury. You have Brunskill, who's like off and on, unless he's playing like the Rams, I guess. And
he's a free agent too, so they have to make a decision whether or not they're going to bring him back as well.
Yep. And then it's Alex. So I feel like, yeah, Lakin off top should be probably number one free agent on the 49ers to re-sign. It just makes more sense. You know, if you can never knock a team for ensuring the trenches. You win from the trenches, offensive, defensive line. So I guess after that, you'd probably be like DJ Jones. But yeah, Lakin off top, that'd be the person that they should have circled. If not top one, then top three people to bring back.
I love it. And we'll get you out on this one, man. I appreciate the time so far. We're talking a lot about offseason. Obviously now, after coaching and stuff gets situated, it's more about, how do we make this team better than we did last season? So what do you believe, based off of just your analysis of the team, Jose, what are the 49ers' most pressing issues this offseason?
I feel like if you ask most people, they're going to cop out and say the secondary / cornerbacks. But I really don't think it's too much of an issue, especially with Ambry Thomas,
coming on,
growing up the way he did.
Mm-hmm.
And I would expect they're going to try to incorporate Diamador de Lenore as a nickel slot, which is a little wild to me. He didn't really do anything there in Oregon. But it's not that difficult to figure out cornerback scenarios to put it like a decent standing. I think I'm going to hit the nail on the head again. What we just said about offensive line, really, it's just investing in the future of your quarterback. The running backs are solid. Yep, there you go. Offensive line. I mean, secondaries, you always draft secondary, maybe safety, but I think pressing issues if you're considering free agents and the draft, offensive line. I mean, how much longer is Alex Math can be playing? I mean, how long is he going to be playing even decently? Who knows if Lakin's coming back? As much as we would advocate for him, maybe the 49ers see differently. McGlinchey, you just don't know. I mean, Trent in the future. I mean, I'm not too worried about Trent. I mean, you got Jalen Moore. It's great. And he got some little licks in. But ultimately, I think it's just that center and that right guard position, because the 49ers interior offensive line has been questionable since 2019. And that's pretty much what did them in a way in that Super Bowl game against the Chiefs, the interior protection. So if you can get someone there, right guard Brunskill. I like Brunskill more as like the little flex guy, like someone they could put in. I mean, not like he's a terrible starter, but the 49ers really don't want him to start. That's why they got Aaron Banks in the first place.
He's better at spot duty.
It just turned out that Aaron Banks had bad feet and was just really soft in training camp, and that's why they're just like, okay, this guy is just not capable of doing anything. That guy was easily probably one of the worst offensive linemen in training camp, and it was consistent throughout. You didn't really didn't really translate, or did translate the same in those little preseason games he got. So hopefully he has a little improvement this year coming off an injury.
Sean also believes, not knowing Mac's future, not having a plan there other than Brendel and Brunskill. So yeah, I definitely believe they need to pick somebody. There's a lot of centers actually in this draft. I think, 5th, 6th, even 7th round, you could probably pick 2 or 3 up that are, pretty decent as far as like starters from big name teams. So I think it bodes well that there's a lot of depth at center at this position. I just don't think at the 2nd or 3rd round picks, they should, just because, like I said, I don't have any confidence that they're going to pick the right offensive lineman. So I'd much rather them go for, a corner, safety, or an edge guy where they seem to have better success at least hitting on.